Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And when you're talking about good stuff, you got to be talking about the birthday boy, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Hi, John. I can't believe I'm a year older. I'm this much closer to death.
Another year older, another year wiser, another year... Well, I'm not going to go where you went. All right, and also joining us is Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how are you doing?
Good morning. Yes, it's Rob's birthday, everybody. Everyone wish him a happy birthday. I did not know this. I would have brought you a little tiny cupcake, but...
Oh, it's okay.
I didn't know it was your birthday either.
I keep it quiet.
You came in and you mentioned it was... Now, I would have known it was your birthday if you had come in, if my computer, because my computer just gave me a heads up reminding me that tomorrow... literally about 5 seconds before we started the show, my computer had this little reminder pop up. Tomorrow is John Snep's birthday. Yeah. And of course, I remember that yours and John's birthdays were back to back, so I would have remembered then. But at any rate, happy birthday to you, Robert. I hope you have a great one.
It's just great to be here.
And it's great to have you here.
To quote Full Metal Jacket, the dead only know one thing. It is better to be alive.
Ooh, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Nice quote. All right, guys, listen, we got a whole bunch of stuff that we need to talk about here today, but before we get off with any of the other stuff, let's go right off the top with this. You guys will remember that last week I told you guys that I had been informed that the upcoming Star Wars slate, which we knew, the Star Wars slate was going to be 2022, 2024, and 2026, and I let you guys know that I had been informed by one of my sources that all three of those movies were Benioff and Weiss movies, not Rian Johnson movies. Now, then we discussed, does that mean the Rian Johnson films are canceled? Does that mean they're pushed to like 2028 or 2020, like 10 years from now? Does it mean that maybe Rian Johnson, instead of doing his own, is going to be working with Benioff and Weiss? Maybe he'll be direct. Who knows? But at any rate, Bob Iger yesterday, head of Disney, confirmed that yes, indeed, the Game of Thrones duo, the next 3 installments of the Star Wars franchise are indeed their films and not the Rian Johnson film. So now this confirms what we had been talking about, that it is indeed Benioff and Weiss's films are the new trilogy, not the Rian Johnson ones. But Rob, it still leaves a couple of questions hanging in the air. Okay, if the next films are all the Benioff and Weiss films, as Bob Iger is saying, what does that mean for Rian Johnson? Because they haven't said that he's done. They haven't announced he's gone. As a matter of fact, just like a month or so ago, they were talking about, Rian Johnson and Benioff and Weiss are collaborating together. So it seems to me, Rob, we've got a couple of options here. Option number 1, the Rian Johnson trilogy is canceled. That after all the crap that he took from everybody, he doesn't want to have anything more to do with it. He's walked away from it, or vice versa, whatever. Option number 2, they've just decided to delay his movies by 10 years. Okay, I've never heard of a 10-year delay being put onto a film, but that's possible. Maybe they just delayed his films by 10 years. A third option, like we mentioned, maybe he is indeed, those reports earlier were true, and he's now collaborating with Benioff and Weiss. That maybe instead of doing his own trilogy, they just decided to combine forces, and he's going to be working with Benioff and Weiss, maybe directing 1 or 2 of those films coming out. That's a possibility. Option number 4, some other option that we're not even considering at this point. Rob, you heard this news about Bob Iger confirming this. Where do you think this leaves? Number 1, what do you think about them doing these films? But number 2, where do you think this leaves the Rian Johnson stuff right now? Still going as planned? Delayed? Is he gone? Is he working? Or something else? What do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, Bob Iger also teased a 3rd Star Wars streaming series
yes, which we will get into in the movie news feed today, actually.
Well, I think, there's a lot of Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Wars happening. You've got The Mandalorian, you've got the Cassian Andor series, the Rogue One prequel series happening, and then whatever this 3rd series is. So it's not like we're going to be without Star Wars.
We've also got like Clone Wars animated is coming back.
Right.
We've got that new show that's awful, the Resistance stuff. So they have a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on. Now, Weiss and Benioff aren't directors.
No.
So I could see something happening, whether they're collaborating, whether Rian Johnson's going to direct. I could see him being involved in some way, because despite what people's feelings are about The Last Jedi, it still made over $1 billion.
Yes.
It was not by any stretch of the imagination.
It was the number 1 film of the year that it came out. It was
number one film of the year. And people are like, well, what about Force Awakens? Force Awakens was anomalous in terms of its box office. We'll see with episode 9. But Ryan Johnson still knocked it out of the park with Last Jedi, as if you look at the money. So it wouldn't surprise me that he is even announced as the director of this film, and he's collaborating, because why wouldn't you want someone who's already written a Star Wars movie and directed a Star Wars movie to collaborate with Weiss and Benioff? I mean, I could see that thing happening. I mean, from Kathleen Kennedy's perspective, they had a great working relationship with Ryan Johnson. And I could see bringing on Weiss and Benioff. Why not have somebody who's already been through this sort of the crucible of a Star Wars experience to help you and to work with you? I think it makes sense. It wouldn't surprise me if we do see them collaborating.
I will say that you ask about why not. Why not have Ryan Johnson come in and do that? And look, I'm a Ryan Johnson fan. I love Brick. I love Looper. I enjoyed The Last Jedi. But if we're going to ask the question, why not? Well, I mean, Bob Iger, who, by the way, Bob Iger loves The Last Jedi. He thinks that movie's great. But Bob Iger could very well sit back and go, why not? Well, there was a lot of backlash. Do we want to reinvite that backlash again? Like, understanding that if you announce Ryan Johnson is directing another Star Wars film, you are going to have to do that, understanding that right off the bat, we're going to have an uphill battle, because we're going to have to deal with a deluge of the toxicity, the people whining about it and complaining about it and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have a big uphill fight to climb. And I'm thinking there's a possibility here, because you're absolutely right. The Last Jedi, for all everybody talks about, it was the #1 box office film of the year. Made over $1.3 billion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do have to keep in mind all the other kind of stuff around it. And I could see a scenario where a Bob Iger now Bob Iger could go, you know what, I'm Bob Iger and I love that movie. So yes, get Ryan Johnson on that. Or he could go, look, from a practicality point of view, do we want to deal with this even before the movie comes out? And then the opposite side of that is, why would Ryan Johnson want to come back at this point? When you look at all the crap he's taken, and we can have a debate about whether it's deserved or not, that's not the point right now. If you're Ryan Johnson, do you want to come back right now? So I don't know. Let me ask you this, Rob. If I set an over-under at 35%, that Ryan Johnson will be back, whether it's his own trilogy or going to be directing with Benioff and Weiss, and I set it at 35%, would you take the over on that, or would you say it's under that?
I think I'm going to take over, because I'll point something else out. So Weiss and Benioff have been showrunners on Game of Thrones. They created the series. They've worked on it despite what's the vitriol that's on the internet now. For 8 years, they've had since 2011, they've had a great run on the show. Ryan Johnson directed episodes of Breaking Bad, where he was working for other showrunners, Vince Gilligan. So he is not a stranger to working for showrunners, and he directed some of the best and most innovative episodes of that show, including the episode "The Fly."
That's my all-time favorite episode of Breaking Bad. I love that.
Yeah, and he directed that. So while people might complain, I mean, look, George Lucas directed all 3 prequel movies, and there was a lot of fan backlash for the prequels. But I could see if you had, I mean, I think Weiss and Benioff and Ryan Johnson are going to catch a lot of hell right now. But if they were teaming up as a team, and knowing that Ryan Johnson has worked with showrunners before, and essentially Weiss and Benioff are going to be the showrunners for these new 3 Star Wars movies, I would imagine, it could be a great team up. It could be something, we might get something really great out of it, and I think it could be really exciting. But then again, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, guys. The important thing here is, what do you make of all this? What do you think about the fact that the next trilogy is not going to be Ryan Johnson's? It's going to be the Benioff and Weiss ones. And really, what do you think is going to happen with the Ryan Johnson situation here? I don't care what you want to have happen. I'm interested in what do you think will. I don't care if you're pro or anti Ryan Johnson. Do you think he is still going to get his films done like 10 years later? Do you think he's going to work with Benioff and Weiss instead? Or do you think he's gone altogether and they're just not talking about it right now? I want to know your opinions. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, guys, let's go on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, You guys select them by sending me your topics and questions by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you're there, fill out the form, hit submit, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see your topic or question featured here on The John Campea Show. All right, let's get on with it. Ashley, what is our first main topic today?
Okay, first one up is from Hanand. Keep rocking the show, Mr. C. You guys make my workday bearable. We all know that the world of streaming is going to change when Disney Plus launches, but I just read a report that says that 28% of Americans say they're going to cancel Netflix once they lose the Disney properties. Seriously? 28%? It can't be that high, can it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, so look, we've known for a while that since Disney announced that they were going to be coming out with their own streaming service, and they're coming out strong, and they're coming out with Mandalorian, and they've got Marvel original series coming from Loki and WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye and on. Then all the Star Wars movies are coming, and all the Marvel movies are coming, and Simpsons is going to be on there, and all that kind of stuff. We knew this was going to be a disruption for Netflix, a disruption that Netflix has known was coming for years. They've known this is coming, and they've been preparing for it by investing billions of dollars into their own original programming, which was very astute on their part at the time. The question, though, we've been having is, how much of a disruption is Disney launching going to have on the giant streaming service Netflix? Well, the Hollywood Reporter did an interesting survey, as a matter of fact. And here's what kind of came out of that. Some 22% of Americans, and this is from the Hollywood Reporter, in the new poll said that they would cancel their Netflix subscriptions if Disney Marvel Studios films like Black Panther, Avengers, Infinity War were removed from the platform. And 20% said they'd drop the streamer if Lucas and Star Wars movies left the service. Among the 18 to 29 age group, those numbers rise to 35% who said they'd drop Netflix over losing Marvel Studios films, and 26% who replied that they'd cancel over losing Star Wars. They go through a bunch of different numbers, but the bottom line on it was that roughly 28% of people are saying they're going to drop Netflix once Disney pulls all their stuff off of it. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind here. Number one, that doesn't automatically mean just because they say they're going to drop it, it doesn't mean they're going to drop it, right? Like a lot of people say, I'm not going to go see that movie, and then the movie comes out and they go see the movie, right? So just because 28% said that doesn't mean 28% are going to do it.
Right.
And if they do leave it, that doesn't necessarily mean that 28% will then go over and start signing up for Disney Plus. Not necessarily. But Rob, even with those asterisks, that is a number that has to be concerning for a Netflix at this point. Because it's not just Disney that's pulling their stuff with Marvel and Star Wars. Comcast is going to be launching their own service. They're going to be pulling the number one show, by mile, the most watched, viewed property on Netflix is The Office. And they're pulling that off too. They're going to be losing material left, right, and center. Like, I know they've been planning this for a while, but if you're in the boardroom, let's say you could be a fly on the wall in the boardrooms at Netflix right now, how much panic do you think is going on over there right now over this?
Well, I think a bit. There's a lot. I think there's a lot going on. Netflix, in a way, I've always thought is kind of a Ponzi scheme anyway. They're leveraged to the gills. They've borrowed billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Their subscriber base, they're relying upon that subscriber base to bring in their money every month in order to justify the money they're spending. They're canceling shows after 3 seasons because they don't want to re-up with talent and renegotiate and spend more money. I mean, Santa Clarita Diet just went away. Eric McCormack's series Travelers is gone.
One Day at a Time just canceled.
One Day at a Time just got canceled. Norman Lear was not, they pissed off Norman Lear, one of the great legends of the television business. It's going to be interesting to see how they weather this storm, and it will be a storm for them. But again, I think that they're going to make it through because they've got stuff like Stranger Things, at least for a couple of weeks when it's a water cooler show. But there's going to be other people that give them movies. I think they're going to have to figure out and innovate. And if anything, it'll be good for them in the long run because they can't be relying on other people's content, which is what they knew years ago, which is why they've started to make their own way. And they've acquired really interesting foreign television shows, multi-language shows from India, shows from Latin America, shows from Spain. Things we haven't seen. There's a lot of really interesting content. They're going to have to start promoting it, I think, differently, though.
Yeah,
But
and you've seen it. You raise a good point because they have been in the last year or so, they've really been putting a stronger emphasis on the international market
Yep.
and expanding their portfolio that way because they know they're losing a little bit of ground here. What can't be good for Netflix is still seeing that the numbers on their own traffic still sway so heavily towards their curated content and not their original content. That's got to be concerning. Now, just last week, Rob, we went down this big list about, look, Netflix has some amazing original content, particularly in their TV series department. We did, just off the top of our heads, we did a list of 20 shows that they've got that are great and wonderful and fantastic. But yeah, Netflix still isn't seeing a big sway towards of their traffic going to their original material. It's still on the curated material, which is disappearing. Now you got 28% of people saying that they're going to ditch. Again, I don't think the number is going to really be that high, but at least they're saying right now they're going to ditch. This isn't good. Now, Netflix did the right thing by getting ahead of this years ago by investing in their original content. We're going to have to wait and see right now if that investment is going to pay off. Because right now they're in debt, they're leveraged to the gills, they're spending unbelievable amounts of money. Here's hoping for Netflix's sake that this is a gamble that does actually pay off in the long run. All right, with that down out of the way, let's move on to our next main topic today. Ashley, what is next?
Next up is from Ewan Callister. So it seems the Mortal Kombat reboot is finally going forward, aiming to start shooting this fall in Australia. Do you think this is a good move? I definitely think so, especially since Mortal Kombat has never been more popular than it is now with MK9, 10, and 11, which came out recently. Thanks, and keep up the filthy.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Listen, we've been talking about the possibility of Mortal Kombat finally getting redone, and there was a lot of movement on it, like back in 2011 and 2013 there was more, then in 2014 there was more, and then it's kind of been dead quiet. Then back in 2016, James Wan was said to come on as producer. Years passed, still nothing. And I've always kind of felt like, hey, they could still do another Mortal Kombat movie. But there are two hurdles. Number one, I feel like every year they wait, the chances get smaller. So they got to move on this relatively soon if they're going to do it. The second thing is there has not been great success with video game movies, and that's been something holding it back as well. Now, working in its favor was the very high-profile release of the brand new Mortal Kombat game, which the trailers look outstanding. I'm hearing pretty good things about the game, but it's selling very, very well, so that was coming back up. But now it's official. James Wan has confirmed that they start shooting a brand new Mortal Kombat movie later this year in Australia, where he did a lot of shooting for Aquaman. Now, what's this movie going to be about? Well, it sounds like it really is pretty much a true reboot, because here's the description of the video of the new movie coming out. It's the new Mortal Kombat movie will follow a male protagonist who becomes drawn into the interdimensional tournament and who begins to realize his true potential as a result of the experience. Okay, so it's Liu Kang. All right, so this is pretty much the exact description of the original Mortal Kombat that we had before. So this is truly a reboot. It doesn't sound like, what do they call them, Rob? A Legasequel? I don't think it's going to be one of those Legasequels this time around. So we've got that. Let the joyous stuff begins. Now, it should also be pointed out that they have also got on their screenwriter and they've got on their director. So that's important. So they've already taken their major steps forward, their screenwriter and their director. Now, I know sometimes we go a little bit long-winded on this stuff, but I think it's important right now that we run through the full filmography of both the director and the screenwriter. So let's step by step start going through the full filmography. Bear with me as we do this. Okay, so the director, Simon McQuoid, has absolutely zero credits to his name, and the writer, Greg Russo, has absolutely zero credits to his name. And when I say zero credits for Simon, I don't just mean as a director. I mean, he's got no credits of any kind. There is no evidence that he's ever worked on a motion picture in his life, in any capacity, whether it's fetching coffee, whether it's being a gaffer, whatever. Nothing on. Now, maybe he does. I'm just saying, when you go to his official resume, there's nothing listed there. And he's in charge of this movie. Writer Greg Russo, he's got a couple of things he's been announced that he's attached to, but again, nothing he's ever written has ever been produced at this point. Rob, I'm not going to lie to you. This makes me nervous. I mean, it's all well and good that you say, oh, but James Wan is producing. He ain't going to be there every day. He isn't the one who's got his hand on the wheel of this movie. I mean, look, first-time writers, first-time directors, they got to get their start somewhere, but I've always been nervous when it's on a big budget tentpole kind of film. This is going to be not a $250 million movie, but this thing's going to be north of $150 million bucks to make this thing. That is huge. And we have a screenwriter that's never written anything. We have a director who's never directed anything running this property. I am not going to lie, man. That makes me really nervous. I feel like this isn't true. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. I feel like these must be a couple of beer drinking buddies from James Wan's college days who he made a promise to them at some point 10 years ago. When I'm a big producer, I'm going to give you a movie to direct. And now he's coming through with this. Like, I don't know. It makes me a little bit nervous. On the one hand, pretty excited we're getting a Mortal Kombat movie. You know, on the other hand, written by a guy with no credits and directed by a guy with no credits. And James Wan ain't going to be there on set every day holding their hands. Producers don't do that. I don't know. Should my enthusiasm win out or should my skepticism here win out, Rob? How are you feeling about this?
Well, if this were some indie, say like a Short-Term 12, I'd be like, all right.
Which is great, by the way.
Great movie, single location, manageable. This is an effects-heavy, action-heavy, a movie that lives and dies based on its combat scenes. Directing is I like to call it multi-dimensional. You have to be a multi-dimensional thinker. And if you've never been on a set before managing these different elements, you wind up with the first Spawn live-action feature. Or you wind up, there was the commercial director who did the Keanu Reeves film that went on, I forget what it was called, but it went on, the martial arts movie, it went on forever. The budget exploded, it ballooned. This doesn't seem like the best idea in the world, especially on a budget of this level. They could be Orson Welles, but if you've never made a film before, they're being thrown into the deep end without a life jacket. And as a matter of fact, they're not even being thrown into the deep end. They'd be driven out to sea about 50 miles, left there, and asked to swim home. That's basically what the equivalent is. So maybe James Wan knows something that we don't, because I'm a firm believer in Wan, I trust. But this seems a little, I don't know.
It doesn't scare me having a new writer as much as a new director, because like the writer, just because he hasn't had something produced, he could have written 20 feature films.
Could have been writing his whole life.
He could have amazing samples. He could show everybody all of production that he knows what he's doing. He knows Mortal Kombat. He knows how to write action. He could be incredible, and he just hasn't had any luck to get something produced yet. But a director with no credits, that scares me a little, because usually if it's going to be a film like this, you want to see at least a bunch of short films under somebody's belt, like a bunch of short films or a feature or hopefully commercials. But I mean, more so short films. So the combo could be a bad thing. We'll see.
Now, look, a lot of people have been screaming for a long time, Dave Filoni should direct a Star Wars movie. And I'm like, Dave Filoni has never directed anything live action. I mean, let him get his feet wet, groom him a little bit. And now what's Lucasfilm doing? He's directing actually a couple of the episodes of The Mandalorian, which is perfect, because now he's getting his feet under him. He's cutting his teeth on live action stuff, working with that step by step by step. I agree with you, Ash. I'm not, on its own, I'm not terribly concerned by a writer who's never written anything that anybody's wanted to produce. That's fine. Somebody's got to have their first screenplay. I'm not even going to jump overboard on the idea of a first-time director, although that always makes me nervous on a big budget film. Why not a good little horror film to start? Why not a little charming rom-com? Why not some television episodes or something, right? But both at the same time, it does make me a little bit nervous. So I've got this war going on in my head, guys, of on the one hand, kind of stoked we're getting Mortal Kombat reboot, but with a writer who's never had anything produced and a director at the helm with no credits whatsoever. Is this the best idea? I don't know. I'm really curious to know, guys, what do you guys think about all this? Does your enthusiasm for, yes, we're finally getting some Mortal Kombat back, or does your pessimism win? I was like, or maybe the fact that this is an untested writer and director doesn't bother you at all. I want to know what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the next main topic. Ashley, what's up next?
Next one is from Ryan Miles. Did you see that that new Spider-Man Far From Home poster? In an era when all posters, especially Marvel ones, all look alike with multiple floating heads, this one is a real breath of fresh air to me. The imagery of Peter in front of the Iron Man wall art is really moving and actually gives you the emotion of the movie more than the sterile posters we generally get these days. Did you see it, and what did you think of it?
I did see it. First of all, let me just say, you're absolutely right. I have been a little bit disappointed in the Marvel posters as of late because, Rob, I think you raised a really good point once. I think you said the Marvel posters today are more a result of the actors' contracts than it is about artistic expression.
Right.
And it is because actors get these contracts that say they have to be on the poster. And so you end up with these ridiculous posters that has no personality, and it's just... Look, 18 characters all standing there looking heroic. I mean, it doesn't really have a lot to it. And I got to admit, I miss some really good posters. I love it, Rob, when a poster in a single frame captures the essence or the spirit of what's going on in the movie. That's what I really enjoy that a lot. So this new Spider-Man Far From Home poster comes out, and I got to tell you, I adore it. Strictly because of what I just said. This, to me, when I look at this image in this poster, this tells me so much about what's going on an emotional level, on a current events level. It gives me a look into the heart of the character. There's so much that happens. This Spider-Man on the roof, sitting down wonderingly with this big homage to Iron Man behind him on the wall. It's beautiful. I love what it represents. Now, is this something I might hang on my wall? Maybe not. I think you artistically could make a little bit of a better poster. But from what it represents, and I'm sure this isn't the final one, I got to tell you, man, I love this image. I love this poster, despite the fact that he's wearing the stupid Iron Spider suit. I can live with it because and you know what? Actually, Rob, let me take that back. It's appropriate in this poster that he's wearing that suit because of course he's thinking about Iron Man. He's in front of the Iron Man thing, so he's of course wearing the gift that Iron Man gave him. So you know what? Even though I don't like the Iron Spider suit, it was the right choice. It's the right choice to have it in there. Anyway, Rob, am I too enthusiastic about this? What do you think about this?
No,
poster
and I'll tell you what's really interesting about this poster is you see Tom Holland's face. He's not wearing the Spider-Man mask, and I think
it makes it more human. It humanizes it more, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every Spider-Man poster, like I've been a big collector of movie posters my whole life, and I don't think there's ever been a Spider-Man poster where you see Tom Holland's face. I mean, where you see Spider-Man's face. It's always the character Spider-Man with the mask on. I still have the original Two Towers poster that has Spider-Man on the wall from the original
Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
And I love this poster. I mean, I'm not a fan. If I had my druthers, I'd have every movie poster painted like they used to be.
Right.
Because that's what I loved, and I agree with you. I think a movie poster should, in one image, mythologize the movie that it's advertising, but that's not the world we live in anymore. And I've never understood why they're making comic book movies. Why aren't you getting people, like, I don't know, Bill Sienkiewicz, painting gorgeous art? They can release their Photoshop posters, but comic book movies, X-Men posters have always been lame. And you've got these great comic artists. They've never availed themselves of the comic artists that made these characters iconic in the first place to actually come back and paint these posters. But as posters go, if I was in college, I'd put this on my dorm room wall.
Ashley,
it's got emotion.
Ashley, I'm just curious. You had a chance to see this image in this poster. What did you think about it? What was your first reaction to it?
I think it's great. I really loved it. I think I love how you see his face, actually. It really does feel like an emotional connection between him and Iron Man. So, and I think it's cool. I like how it's a city skyline in the background, and I like that they have a mural of Iron Man behind him. It's a good concept.
Now, I'm sure at some point between now and the movie comes out, we will get the final official poster, which will be 23 characters standing with a cityscape in the background, all looking off to something, and it'll be another Marvel poster. But right now, kudos to them, because I think this poster is great just because of the emotion that's capturing. I think it's great.
Also, their teaser poster, the initial poster of Spider-Man's face with all the stickers around him,
was great. Yep,
that was
really
a great
too.
poster too.
Yeah.
And it's Sony. Just John, is it Sony that takes care of the marketing?
Yes, Sony's looking after
so
the marketing.
So you've got a different marketing department. They did a great job with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. All the artwork for that was great.
It was all fabulous.
And kudos to them for taking a different approach because I think it's working.
You just raised a great point that I've been overlooking. It's not Marvel's marketing department. It's Sony's marketing department. And at least with the posters, you're right. I love that one with the travel stickers and all that kind of stuff. They're doing a better job.
And Sony's also being like, well, if you haven't seen Endgame, here's a character from another studio's movie.
Go check it out. All right. With that down, let's move on to our final main topic today. Ashley, what's our final main topic?
Well, we have two more. So the next one is from Thomas
Oh, that's
Brownlee.
right. We do. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I know you guys talked about it the other day, but I am now seeing actual box office projections showing that John Wick 3 will beat Avengers Endgame at next weekend's box office. Does this surprise you, and does it say more about John Wick or more about Endgame at this point? Thanks for all you do.
What's interesting here, Thomas, is that probably about 2 weeks before Endgame opened, we talked about how long will Endgame be number one at the box office. There was a topic that came in, some people saying, do you think it can hold it for like 9 weeks? And we're like, well, no. But at the time, I thought there were two possibilities. Either number one, Detective Pikachu would beat it when it came out. And Detective Pikachu came relatively close, but it didn't do it. But what I said at the time was, if Pikachu doesn't do it, then it won't be until Aladdin comes out 2 weeks later that it gets knocked out of the top spot. Well, Pikachu didn't do it, but the percentage drops for Endgame have been a little bit higher than we expected, although we should have expected this considering how much money it made up front. So you're going to have more significant drop-off. So we started to wonder, gosh, I wonder if John Wick on Avengers Endgame 4th weekend could actually come in and beat it. And now the projections are saying, yeah, they think actually John Wick is going to be number one at the box office this weekend. Here's what it said in Variety. John Wick Chapter 3 is heading for an opening weekend between 30 and 35 million from 3,700 North American theaters. Some box office watchers predict that positive word of mouth, because the word of mouth has been insanely off the chart, that positive word of mouth could propel those numbers to north of 40 million. If ticket sales reach the higher part of that range, the Keanu Reeves-led thriller could have a solid chance at ending Avengers Endgame's 3-week reign. Avengers Endgame, Marvel's latest juggernaut that concludes the current phase of its sprawling comic book universe, could collect around 27 million bucks. So I'm hearing 27 to 31 or 32 is where they're kind of projecting that one to come in right now. Rob, let me ask you this. What was something I didn't think would happen, because I kind of thought that Pikachu may do it, but if it doesn't, it's not going to be to Aladdin. I don't think John Wick can do it at that point. I don't think a $30 to $35 million opening on week 4 was going to be enough to beat Avengers, but it's looking like it is. The question that they posed to us is this a bigger story about Avengers Endgame's drop, or is it more of a story about John Wick doing better than expected? Personally, I don't think either. I don't think this is about Avengers drop, and I don't think it's about John Wick exceeding all expectations, because this is kind of around where we thought it would do. Like the last one opened to 30 million. We figured 35 could happen for John Wick 2. I think this is more of a story once again of the fact that everybody keeps underestimating how many people have already seen Endgame. Like, people just refuse to take that in consideration. People just refuse to take in consideration the fact that not only did everybody go out to see Endgame in its first week, many of them went to go see it 7 times. And eventually that's going to drop off. It is not a negative reflection on Endgame's staying power by any stretch of the amount. How many movies make 30 million bucks on their 4th weekends? Almost none. So I don't think it's a commentary on the falling rate of Endgame, nor do I think it's a commentary on the excessive success of John Wick. I think it's more just the fact, again, that, look, we got to remember how many people have already seen Endgame. But, again, I am a little bit surprised, because a while ago I didn't think John Wick was going to be number one this weekend. Rob, do you think, number one, that these projections are correct? Do you think John Wick will be the number one film at the box office this weekend? And then number two, what do you attribute this to more than anything else?
Well, first of all, I mean, Endgame made $4 million on Monday. 4 million plus. It's doing fine.
That's huge for any film.
Yes. The idea that there's something wrong with Endgame, I think, like you said, it was very front-loaded. People didn't want to be spoiled. I've never seen a movie where spoilers have been talked about more than Endgame, even more than Infinity War. And I think John Wick as a franchise, to me, It reminds me of the Terminator franchise in the 80s, because when Terminator came out, not a lot of people went to see it. I mean, it was okay, it did well, but over the course of video and cable and people watching Terminator, it became a thing. It became a beloved film, and by the time Terminator 2 came out in the early 90s, it was a huge success. They spent $100 million making it. It was the first $100 million movie. The John Wick franchise I see is the same thing. When the first John Wick came out, people were like, oh, it's a low-budget Keanu Reeves programmer. But it turned out to be much more than that. It had a rich universe, rich characters, and people loved it. I loved it. John Wick 2 was more of the same, expanded the universe. Now John Wick 3... give it up for John Wick 3, because I want to dip my wick. I know everybody else wants to dip their wick, because everybody wants more John Wick. And we're going to get it. And I think that it's a perfect example of how you build a universe and a franchise out. And Endgame is a totally different thing. But I think you're right. Endgame was very front-loaded, but it's still doing... Dude, we're talking about a movie that's made $2.4 billion.
It's probably at 2.5 by now.
Yeah, and if Endgame didn't make one more dollar, ever...
It's one of the greatest success stories in the history of the business.
Exactly. So this weird idea that, John Wick's going to take Avengers Endgame down. No, John Wick would have taken Avengers Endgame down opening weekend if it had made over, $1 billion. John Wick is coming out 3 weeks into this movie's run. The movie's a phenomenon. It's different than anything we've seen before. And John Wick deserves to have his day in the sun, assuming he escapes the high table.
And I think, well, and just a reminder too, the word of mouth on this, they're saying it could go north of 40 if word of mouth is good. Everything I have heard so far about John Wick 3 is that it's the best of the franchise. I haven't spoken to a single one of my colleagues that has seen it that has not said it's the best of the franchise. They've all said it's the best of the franchise. So I know you're seeing it tomorrow night. I know I'm seeing it tomorrow night. I know a lot of you guys are seeing it tomorrow night. What do you guys think about this? Like, seriously, like me, a number of weeks ago, would you have thought that John Wick would have been the one to end the weekends in a row streak of Avengers Endgame? I thought it was going to go to, well, either Pikachu or Aladdin. Looks like it's going to be John Wick. Do you think that's actually going to happen? Or do you think Endgame will once again upset the predictions and come out at number one for a fourth weekend in a row? Jump down to the comment section and let me know your thought. Apparently now, let's go to the final main topic of the day. Ashley, what's up next?
The last one today is from Max Zwatch. Hey, John, I woke up to the news from The Hollywood Reporter that Disney has made an agreement with Comcast to acquire the full rights to Hulu by 2024. This is interesting, but will Disney be able to balance two of the largest streaming platforms? What do you make of this news?
Yeah, so this actually dropped kind of yesterday while we were doing the John Campea Show yesterday. Now, look, Disney has always been one of the owners of Hulu. They've been one of the owners of Hulu forever, along with Fox, along with Comcast, and a few other interested parties. Now, once Disney took over Fox, that made them the controlling, they own the controlling interest in it, with Comcast being a minority owner. I didn't think Comcast would sell off their shares, because why bother? Like, why would you sell off your shares? If Disney's going to put money into this thing and make money for you, why not just hold on to your ownership and collect some sweet Disney money? But then somebody reminded me the other day, John, what you're not taking into consideration here is that Comcast have plans to create and run their own competing streaming service. Ergo, that creates a conflict of interest. They've got to come up with a way to separate this out. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I hadn't thought about that. It's a great point. So that's looking like what's exactly happening. Here's the actual report that came out of Variety. Disney will assume full operational control of Hulu effective immediately. So right now they're in charge of everything. Disney is in 100% control of Hulu right now. Within 5 years, so not yet, but within 5 years, Comcast has agreed to sell its Hulu stake. So Comcast still has an ownership right in the company, but within 5 years, they've agreed to sell its Hulu stake to Disney for at least $5.8 billion. We'll talk more about that in a second because they're getting a really good price for that. Under the deal, Comcast will continue to license content to Hulu through late 2024. However, as soon as next year, NBC Universal will have the right to pull back programming previously licensed exclusively to Hulu, continuing to make it available to Hulu on a non-exclusive basis for a reduced licensing fee. That basically means that, yeah, Hulu can still show some Universal programs, But it doesn't get to be the only home of those programs now. Now Universal can have those shows on other networks as well. So it's a non-exclusive basis. And by 2022, NBC Universal will have the right to cancel most of its content licensing agreements with Hulu. Now you may be wondering, wait a minute, it says but 2024, now 2022. They can cancel those agreements 2022 and then play out the remaining of the contract to the end of 2024. So Rob, this is a major shift. Now we knew for a long time that Hulu did play a part of Disney's overall new streaming strategy. We've heard Bob Iger talk about the fact that it's not just Disney Plus that's the center hub of their streaming strategy, although it is the center hub. But he's always talked about the programming we can put on Hulu and what can we do to differentiate our stuff that we don't feel safe putting on a Disney Plus, but we do want to have streaming can go there. This just kind of solidifies it. And by the way, if you take this into consideration as a part of Disney's overall strategy, that really means ultimately that $71 billion that they paid to get Fox and put themselves in position, you can effectively add $6 more billion to that. Now it's like $76 billion that they've had to put out on the table in order to get everything to where they want it to be. The pro, though, is that all the pieces are in place now. The board is set. They're ready to start moving forward and doing things, and they have everything in order that they want to do. Whether or not it'll work, we're going to have to wait and see. But Rob, you heard this news. Was this surprising to you? Does this make total sense? Do you think Disney is maybe overvaluing their stake in Hulu? Do you think maybe it's not enough? What do you think about all this?
Well, first of all, I was wondering, like you were pointing out, what are they going to do with Fox's catalogs of shows and movies and things that I was like, are they going to put them on Disney Plus and have a special? Hulu is the answer. Hulu is the answer. They've bought this incredible library of films that goes back decades, television shows. They've got all kinds of content, and Hulu already has a brand that isn't necessarily going to dilute or worry anybody. Like parents don't have to worry about, well, if I buy Disney Plus, are my kids going to watch Alien movies? I don't think so. I think this is a perfect way to have a brand that people already know and actually like. Like, I like Hulu. I like when I log into Hulu, there's the logo and the sound it makes. I mean, Hulu's kind of like a warm friend, and it's already a brand that we like, and they've got the programming. I think it was a really shrewd move on Disney's part. They take it all over. They can have non-exclusive content from other people. It's an incredible move, and there's an infrastructure that's already built. However, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Hulu's has an international presence yet.
I believe you are correct.
So what I think what they're going to do next, and what you're going to see them, I think, aggressively do, is push Hulu out into the rest of the world. I could be wrong. I don't have any real insight into this, but I would think that would be the case. But leaping from a position that already exists, as opposed to having to build an all-new infrastructure, an all-new channel with no brand name, is probably a lot more desirable. It's something they already have. Now they've taken it over, and I think they're really going to make it work for them, and I think it's exciting.
Now,
I like Hulu.
We do know. I love Hulu, too, actually. It's kind of been my main go-to for a while. We've known for a while that some of Fox library is going to end up on Disney Plus. For example, we already know that the entire catalog of The Simpsons is going to end up on Disney Plus. There's probably going to be some others, but there's probably going to be some stuff like, what was the show they just canceled about the vampires?
The
Passage, which, by the way, I did watch The Passage. I thought it was pretty interesting. I kind of liked it. Canceled after one season. But here you go. You got an episode of television. Where do we put it? You probably don't put that on Disney Plus, but if you want to put it somewhere, you're right, Rob, 100%. You got this other option now, Hulu, that you can, by the way, run with its own creative team to still create its own original content and stuff like that. You can have multiple teams creating different content. And this is a really forward-thinking decision, I think, by Disney. And I'll tell you what else. I'm excited to see what NBC Universal comes up with their streaming program, because they have got one hell of a library. And it's going to be really neat to see these things going. What's exciting about the NBC Universal one is that it's going to be free. It's going to be ad-supported, which I think is going to be attractive to a lot of people. So we'll kind of see how all that works out. All right, guys, what do you think about this whole thing? Disney taking over Hulu. Do you think this is a good strategy on their part? I do. Maybe you feel differently. Let me know why you feel differently. I can have my mind changed. Jump down in the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, as you guys know, we love to take live questions here in the John Campea Show, but before we get into those live questions, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the world of movies and entertainment news that we don't necessarily have time to make main topics here in the show, but we want to make sure you're up to date with everything going on, so fact checker Jonathan proudly presents to you today's installment of the Movie News Feed. Check it out.
First up, Lucasfilm is expanding the Star Wars universe to the small screen in a big way, with their first live-action series coming to Disney Plus this fall with The Mandalorian. After that, there will be a series focusing on Rebel Alliance spy Cassian Andor before the events of Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. However, a third series is still on the way and will likely air before the next Star Wars trilogy hits theaters. From Slash Film, according to Disney chief Bob Iger, there will be a third live-action Star Wars series that is likely to get off the ground before the new round of movies kicks off in 2022. Addressing the 3-year hiatus that Star Wars movies will be taking between the release of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker and the first in a new trilogy that will begin hitting theaters in December of 2022, Bob Iger said the following. In the interim, we are producing 2 live-action Star Wars series for Disney+. One of them is called The Mandalorian, which is being supervised by Jon Favreau, and the other one is a bit of a prequel to Rogue One. My guess is there will probably be at least one more, live-action series that we produce for Disney+, meaning a Star Wars series, before we release the next film. Earlier this year, rumors surfaced about an Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series being in development at Lucasfilm. Disney Plus gives Lucasfilm a new outlet to tell some of these stories in a satisfying way. Next up, the first effects of Disney's purchase of Fox have already begun to take shape, as it's been announced that reruns of The Simpsons will begin airing on the Freeform network in the fall. From CBR.com, the veteran animated comedy will move to its new syndicated home in September of 2019. Currently, reruns of the show air on the Fox and FXX channels, with the latter having landed full library rights in 2013. As such, FXX airs The Simpsons marathons 5 days a week in addition to hosting the streaming site Simpsons World. The streaming rights will also be transitioned to Disney, as the company announced earlier plans to make the entire library, including 2007's The Simpsons movie, available on the new Disney Plus platform in November. Next up, Fox has announced that the upcoming Wreck-It Ralph-esque action comedy Free Guy, featuring an ensemble cast led by Detective Pikachu's Ryan Reynolds, has officially begun principal production in Boston, sharing a selfie with the film's primary cast. From ComingSoon.net, Sean Levy, who vacated the director's chair for the long-in-development Uncharted movie, is directing Free Guy in the vein of hits such as Wreck-It Ralph. Free Guy will follow Guy, a lonely bank teller who discovers he is actually a background character in an open-world video game entitled Free City, and works to prevent the makers of the game from shutting it down with the help of an avatar. In addition to Reynolds, the cast also includes Killing Eve's Jodie Comer, Get Out's Lil Ray Howery, Stranger Things' Joe Keery, and Thor Ragnarok's Taika Waititi. The film is set to hit theaters on July 3, 2020 by Fox and Disney. Next up, having recently wrapped the indie film Percy, starring opposite Christopher Walken and Christina Ricci, Zach Braff is joining Robert De Niro in the action comedy The Comeback Trail. The film also stars Tommy Lee Jones and Morgan Freeman. From Deadline, De Niro will play Max Barber, a man in debt to a mob boss played by Freeman, who creates an insurance fraud by casting washed-up, suicidal cowboy movie star Duke Montana, played by Jones, in a poorly written western with the intention of killing him during the first days of filming. Duke somehow rises to the occasion, redeems his past misdeeds, and brings Max and others along on the same journey. Braff will play Max's producing partner. The film will reunite him with Freeman, whom he directed in the 2017 Warner Brothers feature Going in Style. And finally, Emma Thompson is in early talks to star opposite Emma Stone in Disney's Cruella, a live-action origin story based on the classic 101 Dalmatians villain Cruella de Vil. From Variety, I, Tonya director Craig Gillespie is helming the film. De Vil, who will be played by Stone in the new pick, is the villain who was obsessed with capturing the puppies in the 1961 animated classic 101 Dalmatians. This wouldn't be the first time that Thompson's taken a role in one of Disney's live-action adaptations. She previously played Mrs. Potts in 2017's box office smash Beauty and the Beast, and also played Mary Poppins author P.L. Travers in Saving Mr. Banks alongside Tom Hanks. Disney recently announced the film would be released on December 23, 2020. And that will do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed.
All right, and we are now all caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movies. Once again, good job, fact checker Jonathan, on that for everybody. All right, with that down and out of the way now, let's move on to our live questions. You guys have been firing in a bunch of them, so let's get things rolling right now. Ashley, what is first?
Okay, first one up is from the Big Thorbowski. Word of the day, funny. Raven's words of the day are funny.
They are indeed. All right, what's next?
TJ Thomas saw John Wick 3 and absolutely loved it and best so far.
You know what? That's exactly what I've been hearing from most people, is the fact that it is the best of the bunch, which is exciting. Because look, I liked John Wick Chapter 2 very much, don't get me wrong, but I thought John Wick Chapter 1 was better. Hearing that this is the best of the bunch just makes me more excited. And I know, Rob, you're excited about tomorrow night.
I'm very excited. You know, they're even making a Hot Toys John Wick figure. I can't wait. He's going to fight my Hot Toys Neo. Woohoo!
It's going to be great. You got to take pictures of that. All right, you got to do some stop motion animation with that. That would be great.
It's a birthday present for yourself.
There you go. What's next?
Stubble McShave. I wonder how many children's been named Daenerys.
I don't laugh. There was a serious story about this on, I think it was NPR or something like that I was listening to, that there were people around the world naming their children Daenerys or Dany. Dany's fine. You can get away with that. Daenerys. And now, of course, she's turned out to be a bloodthirsty thing. Something I warned you guys was coming. But anyway, look, that just teaches you, don't name your children after fictional characters unless you know the end of the story. Now there's probably a lot of parents changing their kids' names to Dany officially. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, what's next?
Gisberto Guzzo, movie recommendation of the day, Something Wild. I think it's one of the best and most popular, most important films of the 1980s.
That is the one. Who's in Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey?
Jeff Daniels?
Yes.
Jeff Daniels, who is amazing. That's the Jeff Daniels one. And the girl from Working Girl, isn't it?
Yeah, Melanie Griffith.
Melanie Griffith is in that.
Jonathan Demme.
That was ages ago. I remember the poster more than I remember the movie. Some, like, her husband just got out of jail or something, something crazy. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, and there's a beautiful, by the way, Criterion Blu-ray of it. So you can watch it. You know, the director of Silence of the Lambs made that movie.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. All right. And nice deep cut, Gisberto. All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave. John, ask Rob what he thinks of The Sound of Music.
Hey, Rob.
Oh, man.
What do you think of The Sound of Music? Is this an inside thing that I'm not aware of?
I've never seen it. Everyone
really?
knows this. Okay, here's the thing with The Sound of Music. I know it was directed by Robert Weiss, who directed The Andromeda Strain, who edited Citizen Kane, who directed Star Trek: The Motion Picture and West Side Story. I know. My girlfriend bought me a Blu-ray 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago for Christmas. I have not, for whatever reason. I don't know what doe a deer, a female deer means. I don't understand. I know what the Von Trapp family's all about. You're the song and dance man.
A name I call myself.
I haven't seen it either, Rob. I have a confession too.
It's terrible.
Really? You guys haven't seen
know.
Sound of
I don't
Music?
know why. It's just one of those movies I have to see.
My hills are just not alive, John.
Yeah, mine are.
They are, with The Sound of Music. All right. Well, I just...
Thanks a lot, Stubble.
Jeez.
Way to have my back, buddy.
I thought you would have said you love that. Okay, you haven't seen... Yeah, man, get on that. You got to... I think
I
you
own
like
it.
it.
I own
it. All right, what's next?
I'm going to watch that and All That Jazz this week.
All That Jazz is one of my favorite films of all time.
I know that. Kyle Starr, what would be your ideal MCU movie list in Phase 5?
None. I don't put together what I want to see. I just want to see what they do. So any movies they do is good. What do we know? Oh, what, in Phase 5? I mean, I don't care. Like, let's see what Phase 4 does before we start guessing.
Devil Dinosaur, dude. Let's make a Devil Dinosaur movie.
I honestly don't think we're ever going to see a Devil Dinosaur movie.
Come on.
I mean, look, we haven't even technically started Phase 4 yet. So who knows where the MCU is going to be? Who knows what the situation? Let's ask that question again in about 6 years. Let's get there then. All right, what's next?
Ghostface 1999. I recently watched Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets right after watching The Fifth Element. Great sci-fi experience. Love that universe.
Man, I wanted to like Valerian. I did. They brought some great imagination to it, and I was super excited because I was at the world premiere. I went to the premiere of it. Super stoked to see it, and the visuals great, creativity off the chart, but it just didn't work as a movie for me. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to buy this guy. The actor from Chronicle, Dane DeHaan, who I really like.
And Carla Delevingne,
who I'm not so big on her, to be honest with you. I'm sure she's a lovely person. I just not big on her as an actress right now. But I'm supposed to buy that Dane DeHaan is the universe's biggest badass.
Yeah.
I love Dane DeHaan. I think he's a tremendous actor. It fell flat for me. I just couldn't enjoy it. I wish I could. Did you ever get around to seeing it, Rob?
Oh, I own it. Yeah, I own
do?
it. And
Okay.
I'm a huge Luc Besson fan, but that is a movie. I love Fifth Element. I love Leon the Professional. I love La Femme Nikita. I love his first film, Le Dernier Combat, which is a great science fiction movie. But Valerian, as beautiful as I think it is, and it's fun to watch, you know what it's really good to do is you put it on a big screen and turn on like your favorite EDM music or whatever techno you like, and let the techno throb away, and you've got these cool visuals, and it looks like a music video, and I love it. But man, it's hard to watch.
Yeah. I don't think it's utter garbage.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But the Fifth Element rules.
Yeah. Fifth Element's great. All right, so next.
Raven. Hi, gang. Today's word is nebulous. Lacking clear definition. After watching Avengers Endgame, Gamora's fate in the MCU is nebulous to me.
That is a perfect, actually, use of the word nebulous, actually, and appropriate that you use Gamora because her sister name's Nebula. All right, what's next?
Raven, any guess as to why Thor, CA, Spider-Man, and even the Avengers films got subtitles for their sequels, but Iron Man's sequels are just 2 and 3?
I've always said, don't get me wrong, I always prefer numbers in sequels. I do. I prefer numbers. Now, I don't mind doing what John Wick has done. John Wick 3, Parabellum. I don't mind that. It just makes it a lot easier years later, because I swear, I had a friend of mine over a few weeks ago who had not really caught up on the Marvel films, but wanted to see a few of them before Endgame came out. So, but like her big thing was, how can I tell what order these things are in? It's like, yeah, just call it, whatever to this. Oh, and Guardians of the Galaxy's doing that, right? The Guardians of the Galaxy, although they put in volume 2, I'm sure 3 will be. I don't know why they don't do that. I really don't. So I wish they would. Rob, do you got any sort of theory on why they do it for some and not for others?
Here's what I like with Iron Man. The Iron Man, the big thing is amongst, say, Hot Toys collectors is the number of the actual armor.
The mark.
Yeah. And I thought Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3 was, it fit. It fit with the idea. I mean, if you had Iron Man in some title like, say, Parabellum, that's not what Iron Man is. It's a stamp. It's like ka-chang, and you get a number.
Ka-chang.
And like Shang-Chi. No, I don't know what ka-chang is. It's better than ka-ching. It's different. Ka-chang means you're just pressing out something out of metal. Ka-ching is you're making money. So that's how I felt that Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 work, because I imagine those titles embossed or sculpted out of bronze somewhere, and a number's just better.
All right, what's next?
Raven, did any of you watch HBO's Newsroom? I loved it. If you aren't already impressed by Olivia Munn as an actress, you will be after the 6th episode.
Speaking of Jeff Daniels, I really quite like that show.
Me too.
And you know what? Olivia Munn cannot act. However, at some point before shooting on Newsroom began, an alien race came to Earth, abducted Olivia Munn, and put an alien being lookalike in her place who had somehow magically tons of acting talent, because Olivia Munn is really good in that show. She really is. It stunned me because I don't think that girl can act. And then in Newsroom, I'm like, am I in one of these Endgame alternate realities? Because she's really good in it. And then she went on to be in X-Men, and they put the real Olivia Munn back because she was terrible in that.
Burn.
But you're absolutely right. Hey, give credit where it's due. She's fantastic in that show.
Yep.
And so I don't know if it's that she was in the hands of the right directors there or what have you, but if she can capture what she did in Newsroom, she's got the name, she's got all the physical tools, she's very attractive, all that kind of stuff. If she could recapture on a consistent basis what she did in Newsroom, she could have a really good career. I'm not saying A-list, but she could have a really cool career. But anyway, I loved that show. Did you ever have a chance to watch that, Rob?
I loved Newsroom. I thought it was great. It went too soon.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Abraham SF. So Danny needed a Snickers bar with her Starbucks.
Here, Danny, have this. You're a little grumpy when you're riding your dragon. All right, that's a good one, Abraham. All right, what's next?
Bart Allen. I'm Nicholas from England and a big fan since Collider. John, since you're Canadian, have you seen Tommy Tricker and the Stamp Traveler? Amazing film.
I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. No, but if it's a Canadian thing, I'm going to have to look it up. But have you ever heard of this, Rob?
No.
Okay, so nope, I haven't heard of it. But thank you for putting on my radar, Nicholas. I'm going to go check that out. Thank you for that, sir. All right, what's next?
Cody Carroll. My brother 30 puts ketchup on his spaghetti.
You know what? I believe I think that's okay. I might get in a lot of trouble from my wife and from Ray, but I believe that's a Filipino thing to do. I believe Filipinos put will ketchup on spaghetti, and they'll also put diced up hot dogs in it and stuff like that, which is actually really good. I never would have thought. I'm not a big fan of Filipino cuisine, to be honest with you, but I think I've heard of that before. So I would rather ketchup on spaghetti than ketchup on eggs. Let's just say that. All right, what's next?
Jay Bling, the new Prince Ali clip from Aladdin was incredibly disappointing.
Haven't seen it yet. The only big full clip I've seen, of course, was at CinemaCon. They showed us the Never Had a Friend Like Me, which, Rob, you and I both liked.
I liked it.
But I'll tell you this. That clip gave me a big rush of enthusiasm and optimism for this movie. What has sucked that optimism away is that the review embargo is lifting the day before the movie opens.
Oh.
Not good. And the press screening is 2 days before the movie opens. Not good. Especially a studio like Disney that traditionally loves putting out their press screenings and lifting review embargoes early because they know their movies kick ass and they know that people are going to rave about them. When that company, and don't tell me they're just worried about spoilers. Uh-oh. No, they're not. Yeah. When Disney, which is the king of showing supreme confidence in their movies, when Disney does the press screening 2 days before the movie opens and lifts the review embargo 1 day before the movie opens. The review embargo lifts Wednesday. You say, John, that's 2 days. No, because remember, the first screenings are always Thursday. I got to tell you, I mean, look, it doesn't 100% mean that this movie's bad, but it ain't a positive sign. And I Rob, you and I both got this renewed enthusiasm for it, and now I got to tell you what, now I'm skeptical as hell.
I mean, I am a Will Smith. I like Will Smith. I've always liked Will Smith. I saw this video. Some kid made a reimagining of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air,
modern era, yeah.
And I saw him on camera with this kid and talking about how much he liked it. I've always liked Will Smith. I like his presence, and I was hoping that this movie would be good because I want every movie to be good, but I thought this was ultimately a good choice.
Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be, but I'm telling you what, when Disney doesn't show confidence in one of their films, that's saying something, because they normally do. And I love Guy Ritchie, and I've been excited for this ever since we saw the clip at CinemaCon. I don't know now. I mean, because I've always said, speaking to a studio, if you're not confident in your movie, why should I be? I mean, so
Bring on Sherlock Holmes 3.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, what's next?
Murray Reich saw Detective Pikachu, and I gotta say, it was very cute. Seeing the Pokemons in live action was cool, and the story and plot and certain characters' arcs were meh. Overall, I can't keep saying the word Psyduck.
Psyduck. I gotta tell you what. Look, I think Detective Pikachu is mediocre. Okay, it's all right, but you can't. It is relentlessly adorable. It's a really adorable movie. And Psyduck, every time he would talk, Psyduck, you just go, aw, and you'd smile because it's cute and adorable. Anne loved it because she's big into Pokemon. As a matter of fact, Anne and I are going to go see it again tonight because we're free tonight. Let's go see Pokemon. I'm like, okay, baby, whatever you want. So we're going to go see Pokemon again tonight. But yeah, I mean, its plot is rubbish. It does some things that are really, really convenient. But, here's the thing. If you're a guy or a girl and it wants to drag you to go see Detective Pokemon, I can at least tell you this. You're going to grin. You're going to grin. Because like I said, it is relentlessly adorable. There is some good laughs. There are some good laughs in the film. And I think you're going to walk out not saying to yourself, well, that was a waste. I don't think you're going to consider it a waste of time. I think you're going to get something out of it. Just, don't expect Endgame. That's just kind of my thought. Have you had a chance to go see Pokemon yet?
No.
No.
I it's not something I'm ever going to run out and see.
You didn't fly to London to go to the opening night of Detective Pokemon?
No, I didn't.
Detective Pikachu?
That's only reserved for special occasions.
All right.
I've only flown in my life twice to go see a movie. The first time was to see Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home here at the Academy Theater from Seattle. I took an emergency loan from my college because I needed plane fare. And I went and saw Skyfall in London.
All right,
awesome.
let's move on. What's next?
Suthius. Hey guys, there's some characters leaving Arrow and Flash. I enjoyed Flash finale a lot more than Arrow's, and I can't wait for their crisis this fall.
Haven't seen the finale yet for Flash, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, look, Arrow has constantly been losing characters. That's what happens, and it's not that big of a deal because Arrow is coming to a conclusion next season. I believe they said it's only going to be a 10-episode final season, and it's going to be wrapped up after that. Was really shocked to find out Felicity, who's pretty much been the number 2 main character on this show forever, is leaving at the end of this season. That's odd, but other than that, we've had other characters come and go in Flash, so there is no end in sight right now for Flash anyway, so we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing the finale, though. I really am. All right, what's next?
Smog Ruler. Did you know ketchup on spaghetti is a Filipino thing?
I was guessing that. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They say Ray probably knows exactly what I'm talking. When Ray does, it's actually not so bad. All right, what's next?
Ben Jesusa. And here we thought the MK movie is never going to happen till a few years. So unexpected. Also looking forward to seeing John Wick 3 this weekend.
I always thought there was a possibility for Mortal Kombat, but I really did feel that every year that passed, the chances got less and less. And they had to move on it pretty soon because it was, and again, how many times have we heard, oh, it's coming, back in 2011, when they put out that web series, and the guy who did the web series was supposedly signed on to do a movie version of it. Just, we've been told year after year one was coming and it never happened. Then James Wan gets attached, and then nothing happens for years. Propelling now on the success of Mortal Kombat 11, they're going to try to roll with this. I don't know how to feel about it, but we'll see. All right, we missed one there, Ashley, just above Ben Hayusa.
I've not seen it. It's not on mine.
Terrell Wise? Under ZOMG Ruler? You don't have that there?
I have Terrell under Ben saying Halle Berry looks amazing in John Wick.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we did that, did we?
No.
No, we didn't. Okay, that's the one we skipped. Okay. Well, look, it's Halle Berry. Halle Berry is going to look good in a bathtub full of ketchup and eggs. I mean,
she doesn't age.
She does not age, and even when she does, it's like, how did you just improve upon perfection? I mean, she's just absolutely stunning. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her in this. All right, now what's next?
Jeremiah Hernandez. Hey, John, Rob, and Ashley. Hello. Did you know that Taika Waititi's movie Akira is reportedly filming this July? I can't wait. I'm super excited for this movie.
You know, this is another one of those movies where it's like, I'm not saying it's not, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Like, again, there's been so much talk about Akira, literally since about 2006. I remember there being stuff about. It's just, I'll believe it when I see it, because I actually kind of think Taika might be working on a Thor movie, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But
plus, the pre-production on Akira has got to be massive.
And he's wrapping up Jojo Rabbit. Today he started shooting that movie that Jonathan talked about in Movie News Feed. He started shooting this new movie. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I'm in a position where I'll believe it when I see it. That's just where I'm at right now. All right, what's next?
Akira is a Japanese film.
Yes.
Set in Tokyo.
Yep.
Neo-Tokyo.
Neo-Tokyo.
Murray Reich, during the previews, they showed the Sonic trailer, and by the time it ended, some people behind me yelled loudly, "That was horrible!" LOL.
I get that actually, I hear a lot of reactions more and more over the past couple of years of people in the audience. It used to be trailers would play in movies and nobody would ever say anything good or bad. But I've been finding a lot more in the last year or two that when an anticipated movie's trailer come on, you'll hear people in the audience just clap for the trailer. Or when a bad trailer is like, what was that? And like, it's just more and more people are getting into the trailers, which is kind of fun. All right, what's next?
Murray Reich again. Then, as soon as Pikachu started, the same people behind me yelled, "Wait, is this an Avengers movie?" Then I yelled back, "Yes, it is. You'll see some Pokemon dusting." LOL.
An Avengers movie Pokemon is not, but it's kind of an Avengers movie of the Pokemon. You got, I don't know, Jigglypuff. I think that's what a name I heard Ann say.
Dude, is Snorlax in the movie?
Sure.
I need some Snorlax. You know, I just like a giant Pokemon that sleeps.
There's this one with a skull. It wears a skull as a helmet. That's kind of cute. There's Psyduck. There's Psyduck, who's adorable. There's a lot of them. There's Mewtwo. Which actually, the design on Mewtwo is actually pretty badass. Mewtwo looks kind of menacing. I actually really like the design of that. All right, what's next?
KW Gary 83, breaking news. Variety reports Eon Productions has replaced injured Daniel Craig with Christopher Plummer for the new Bond movie. Finally, an 89. Yo, Bond.
You know what? The Christopher Plummer thing will never get old. It will never get old. It's like whenever... Like, I even saw somebody, it was a little too soon, but if you remove that aspect, it was funny. I even saw somebody did a visual meme of Christopher Plummer now to play Chewbacca. And it's like, too soon, but it is funny.
By the way, I would absolutely watch a James Bond movie with an 89-year-old Christopher Plummer playing an 89-year-old Bond.
Oh, so would I.
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
I'd totally be down for that. Remember when he was the Klingon general?
General Chang.
He used to love quoting Shakespeare in the original Klingon.
Let's slip the dogs of war.
He's so good.
Have you not heard the chimes at midnight?
He's so good. You've never appreciated Shakespeare until you've heard it in the original Klingon. Still one of the greatest lines out of any Star Trek movie ever. I love that. All right, what's next?
I mean, we're going to get a 77-year-old Indiana Jones,
this
right?
Is true.
So,
why
the hell not?
Bond?
Raven, thank you to Big Thorbowski. That was very kind.
Oh, that's right, because he gave you a shout out at the beginning. That was nice. All right, what's next?
PJ Barnes, Pokemon has been one of the highest-selling video games for over 20 years, yet Detective Pikachu still has deniers of it being a video game movie.
It's not about it being... Get off this thing about who cares? Who cares whether you call Pokemon a video game movie or not? Look, I have always said, and I think most people would say, yes, technically speaking, it is a video game movie. Fine. But I don't consider, when I think about it, I don't think of it as a video game movie. And sorry, most of the public don't either. Most of the public doesn't think of Pokemon as a video game franchise. They think of it as an IP. They think of it as a cartoon. They think about it as a card game. Most average people do not consider it or don't think about it in terms of it being a video game. Is it technically? Yes. But who the F cares if we're saying it's a video game movie or not? I don't consider it such because most people don't think of it. But yes, even I will acknowledge it technically is. But it's not a big deal. Who cares? All right. Anyway, move on.
Suthius, IP Man is journeying to the US of A. Can't believe there's a fourth one coming out. Love me some Donnie Yen.
Oh, man.
Hope we see him in more domestic productions.
Ip Man rules.
I love it, man.
And I've got a box, a steel book with all three movies. Yeah.
Actually, somebody wrote in, speaking of Donnie Yen and Ip Man, somebody wrote in the other day, Rob, I don't think you were here, and they asked, wouldn't it be awesome if they cast Donnie Yen as Shang-Chi? And I thought about it for a second. I said, well, yeah, there's a geek side to me that's like, but Donnie Yen is 52?
Yeah.
I don't know that Shang-Chi is not 52, so I don't know that you start a franchise with that. So
Donnie Yen can be Shang-Chi's dad.
Donnie Yen can be anything he wants. I mean, put Donnie Yen in anything, but I don't think he was right for Shang-Chi, though, but...
By the way, one of my favorite directors, Wong Kar-wai, made an Ip Man movie that's not part of the series called The Grand Master.
Oh yes,
and,
I have seen that.
Yeah, and you got to get the uncut version. But man, I love me some Ip Man.
All right, what's next?
No idea what that is, but
you should find out.
I will find out. Sin Vendetta. Saw both John Wick movies in preparation for John Wick 3 this Thursday, and both movies were fantastic. Don't know why I waited this long to see them.
Oh, man. I mean, look, and the fact of the matter is, don't beat yourself over Sin Vendetta, because a lot of people haven't seen them. These movies have never done monster box office. Remember, the first one opened to 17 million. The second one only opened to 30. So this is not a franchise for everybody. But if you are so inclined, these movies are awesome.
They really are.
Now, I prefer 1 over 2, but to me, they're both great. They're both awesome. And I know, Rob, you and I are both salivating for part 3.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think the first movie is I still call it a B movie, even though it's beautifully made. That's what I think is so great about these films is the world, the secondary characters, the cast. I mean, bringing Angelica Houston into the third movie, that's why these movies are rad. And I can't wait. He's going to shoot a bunch of dudes in the head. There's dogs. There's samurai swords. All right.
I still think it was one of the most brilliant script things ever. That, we're going to have in this movie, John Wick 1, we're going to have this guy go on this unprecedented murder spree, just dropping bodies and killing people, total strangers to him that may or may not be good people, really, if you got to know them. But how do we get the audience on board with that? Oh, man, I don't know. Like, how are we going to really get... Because for this movie to work, we need the audience on his side. What can we possibly do? Murdered his wife? Oh, we've seen that before. Blah, blah, blah. They kill his puppy. Done. Because, Rob, I've talked about this before. I have never seen anything like it. Like, you could physically see it in the audience. In that movie, when I was there, when they killed John Wick's puppy, you could see, nuns sitting together in theater. these fuckers got to die.
Well, yeah,
it just got everybody. No matter what John Wick did at that point, it was going to be justified in everybody's eyes.
But also, they did kill his wife. His wife dies of cancer, and it was his wife who brought him away from the wicked ways of his assassin world. And then it was his wife who gave him the dog.
puppy,
that was
yeah.
her final act. And then they kill the dog, and then they steal his awesome car. The only things that he's got, he tried to go on the straight and narrow. You know what? In a way, it's kind of like Unforgiven, because I love Unforgiven.
it is.
It's one of the
It is
greatest.
very much like
his
Unforgiven.
wife turned him away from drinking and wickedness, as he says, and then he has to go back to it. It's the same kind of thing, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Oh, it's so
my
good.
God, so good. All right. Anyway, sorry. We could talk about John Wick all day. What's next?
Murray Reich, check out the behind-the-scenes video of Mayhew, a.k.a. Chewie, delivering some lines in English to Harrison Ford so that he would understand him.
I've never seen that. I'm going to
No.
have to go look that up because that sounds awesome. I would love to see that. Thanks for the point out, Murray. All right, what's next?
James Classman saw Endgame again, had a couple of thoughts about the final battle as the armies are running. How is Thor keeping up with Captain? And what is Spider-Man webbing onto in the middle of the field to move?
Okay, as far as the Spider-Man thing goes, though, dude, that is almost as classic as a makes no sense question as Superman hiding with a pair of glasses. Because often we've seen Spider-Man movies and cartoons where it's like, wait a minute, he is clearly in a spot where there is nothing above him for a good 2 square miles for him to shoot web, but we see web shooting up off camera and swinging around. There is nothing there for him to swing on. And yes, I had the exact same thought when we first see him in Endgame swinging through the portal. It's like, what is he? Never mind. Just ignore it. Move on. Just like people can't see. It's a classic Spider-Man trope. It's classic. That we see him shooting webs up, but what's it connecting to? Nothing. He doesn't have to. He's Spider-Man. Just accept it and move on. As far as the Thor keeping up with Cap, I was half expecting when we see Black Panther and Cap rushing into battle, for us to have that same moment that we had in Infinity War where Black Panther and Cap are just going to go way ahead of everybody, right? I was kind of expecting to see that, but I guess they held back a little bit to be with the main forces. Dude, that's my only thing. I'm just guessing they held back to be with the main forces. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, what can you say? Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I wasn't. If you're thinking about where Spider-Man's webs are going in scenes like this, come on. It was such a great. And now that people have stills, like high-res stills on the internet, I can't get enough. Like you'd said, I want somebody to make a Jaclay or some kind of a big
landscape poster of Cap by himself against the armies.
Bring it on.
But the Spider-Man thing reminds, and again, let's not pretend like the Avengers are the first ones to do it. This has gone on in the history of Spider-Man, both in comic books and on animated cartoon shows, whatever. There's always many times where he just shoots a weapon in the air where there's nothing there.
I bet it doesn't work in the Spider-Man PS4 game, though. You got to know where your webs go.
Oh, that's true. That doesn't work
or you'll
there.
fall to earth.
To me, it's like a number of things, though, in Endgame. And this is just a small example of that. There are a number of things in Endgame, logically, that make absolutely no sense. But the payoff more than justified. Because think about this. In that shot where Spider-Man comes into frame for the first time, what looks better and has the better reaction? Spider-Man running along the ground, catching up with everybody and jumping over rocks, and then stand in the forefront of the camera. Hi, guys, I'm here. Or is it a better moment that he swings into frame, lands on the rock? That's the better shot. That's the payoff. And that reminds me of a lot of stuff in Endgame. Like, yeah, there are a number of things that are logical problems, but the payoff was so worth it. So I totally keep it. I keep it forever. I think it's just the shot was so great. It was just such a great moment. All right, what's next?
By Odin's Beard, Tom Ellis is jacked in the new season of Lucifer.
Yeah, he did some working out because I think they told him, hey, listen, we're on Netflix now. We're going to have a little bit of nudity. Not tons, but we're going to have a little bit of nudity. You might want to tighten it up. I mean, he's always been in great shape, but he's just been like an average guy. Yeah, but he got jacked. He got really, really jacked for this season. He looked great. All right, what's next?
Suthius just bought the Mummy trilogy bundle on Google. Don't
Nice.
judge, LOL. Third one was okay, but I love me some Mummy 1 and 2. Imhotep is a badass villain.
I unabashedly love the first Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser. I thought Brendan Fraser was a great action adventure star. I really do. I I even like his George of the Jungle movie, damn it. I like him as an action fun guy. I'm glad he's starting to make a return. Love seeing him in Doom Patrol. So no judgment for me. Of course, the Scorpion King, but I mean, yeah, overall, I liked it. What were your thoughts overall of the...
How can you not like The Mummy?
I love The Mummy.
It's over-reliance on CG notwithstanding. It hasn't aged as particularly well, but I still like the movie. It was fun.
All right, what's next?
Too much CG. Yeah. Sin Vendetta, thoughts on basketball, one of my favorites.
It's quite funny. It's from the guys who do South Park. And it's actually really, it's a terrible movie, but it's very funny. It
is funny.
And it's who's the girl?
I don't know.
She was with Jim Carrey for a while.
Yeah.
And she was an MTV. I think she was a big MTV star, and I'm forgetting her name right now. At any rate, it's actually really quite funny. I haven't had anybody mention that to me in a long time. All right, what's next?
Raven, want a beer? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Long pause. Scotch?
Was that an Endgame? Was that one of the Thor lines?
No.
Okay, I don't recognize it.
I don't either.
I think, was it in Endgame? I think it was Thor. I don't know.
Maybe.
When Hulk shows up and
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
it was. Maybe it was Endgame.
Maybe. All right.
Sounds familiar.
You got me stumped. All right, what's next?
By Odin's Beard, Dave Bautista is in an episode of the new What We Do in the Shadows TV series.
That's first of all, I love seeing how much success Dave Bautista's having. I've been a fan of this guy for a long time. This movie Stuber, which Rob they showed us a bunch of at CinemaCon, which I thought looked like a total waste throwaway of a movie. And then they showed us some stuff at CinemaCon. I'm like, okay, I got to see this. And we're hearing really good advanced word of mouth. And I have not watched What We Do in the Shadows TV series yet. Anne's been watching. She says it's really funny.
Yeah, I haven't
seen it
either, and I adore the movie.
Oh, yeah. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So hearing that he's going to be in that is great. All right, what's next?
The Big Thorbowski. You're welcome, Raven. John, is Rooker King Shark or ...
Who knows? I don't even know for sure that he's going to be in it. As I know there were some rumors going around, but I haven't heard.
Yeah, he debunked those rumors.
Did he already debunk them? Yeah, I wasn't sure that those were real or not. Like, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be shocked if the closer we get to production that he does start bringing some of his buddies in, but I don't think any of that is legit at this point. All right, what's next?
Joshua Riley. Hey, guys. This is my first super chat.
Hey, thanks, Joshua.
Just wondering if you have seen The Hole, directed by Joe Dante, and if so, what are your thoughts on it?
Okay, now wait a minute. There were 2 The Hole movies. One was in the early 2000s with Keira Knightley. I remember that, so I don't know if that's one. And then there was one in like 2008, 2009. Do you know which one he's talking about?
I don't.
Rob?
I have not seen it, and I'm a Joe Dante fan all the way back to The Howling. I have not seen The Hole.
So I'm not. I know there are a couple though. I know there are a few movies called. I can't pull it off the top of my head. All right, what's next? Hopefully we got the right one, Joshua. I'm not sure, but thank you for sending it super chat, man. All right, what's next?
I'm upset. Thoughts on Todd McFarlane directing Spawn?
Hey, my thoughts on this are well established. It's a horrible mistake. Like, I create Spawn, therefore I know how to direct a movie. He's never directed anything. It's the worst news possible for it. Again, doesn't mean the movie's going to be bad. Like, you heave up a half-court shot, sometimes they go in. Most of the time they miss. But once in a blue moon they go in. Maybe this will be one of those. Let's see. But I think it was a terrible decision. I think it's a terrible decision that he's directing it. So, just my thought. All right, what's next?
Tabula the Spider Monkey. Better C. Barker movie, Nightbreed or Hellraiser?
Hellraiser.
100%.
Oh, yeah. Hellraiser.
Nightbreed, I have great affection for it, but it's a mess.
I was actually going to say, I don't even like Nightbreed that much, to be honest with you. But
Hellraiser's great.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Clay Woodley, Mufasa versus Shere Khan. Who wins?
Ooh, Mufasa. Okay. Lions are not as big or as strong as tigers. Lions are not as big or as strong as tigers. So I'm going to guess Shere Khan. I mean, everything in me wants to say Mufasa. It really does. But I just can't. I think so. Honestly, I think it would be a Shere Khan. What do you think, Rob?
I'm with you. 100% Shere Khan.
All right. What's next?
Everett Lewis, excited for the new Mortal Kombat film. Been loving the narrative direction of the games. They've given it a rated R superhero feel. Hope it delivers.
Yeah. I hope this guy's never written anything and the guy who's never directed anything give us something good. Look, Could be great. I'm not saying it's not going to be. I'm just saying it gives me a little bit of pause. It keeps what would have been real excitement at this news a little bit in check, I got to say. But here's hoping, man. Fingers crossed. All right, what's next?
Joshua Riley, over under 25% Godzilla can get 100 mil opening weekend.
Shockingly, they're projecting 55.
Yeah.
Which, to me, I looked at it and went, wait, what? The first Godzilla movie that came out, I think, 2014, made 92 million opening. Kong, Skull Island, made 60+ million opening. Everybody's been loving the trailers for this. And they said the projection right now is 55. Now, the word of mouth has been great. Rob, you're one of them. You've seen the movie.
I've seen the movie. I adored it. But you know, if you love things like Pacific Rim, the first Pacific Rim, it's a kaiju. It's a kaiju movie. It's a real kaiju movie that we haven't seen before. It has that sensibility. If you're a Godzilla fan, there's so many nuggets in it, but it's big and badass, and it was a great time at the movies, and it has one of the greatest sound mixes I've ever heard.
So I'll say this: I hope it gets to 100 million.
Me too.
I'm going to take under 25%. If they're projecting 55, that means it could be higher, but 100 seems like at this point seems out of reach, but I hope so, man, but I got to take under 25. Rob, what do you think?
Me too. I as much as I think this movie deserves to get 100 million, I just don't know. I don't see it's I don't know.
Here's hoping. Fingers crossed. All right, what's next?
Cameron Barnett, Fandango is selling early screening tickets for Rocket Man on the 18th. This is not a drill.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, that they've, I think it was Fandango that did the early screening of Aquaman as well. Wasn't it Fandango that did that?
Yeah.
Or it might have been the Bumblebee one. I just remember there were two of them. Very excited for that film. Really, really excited for that film. Not crazy about the deceptive nature of their marketing to trying to make it look more like a Bohemian Rhapsody when we know it's not. But I still think the movie's got a lot of promise, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
Imad Abdelatif. Had a nightmare that I was living in the same world as the kid from Brightburn. I'm so glad I woke up, but I'm also very excited for the movie now.
Dude, look, it is stupid how excited I am for this movie. I still remember the first time we watched it. Right? Like, I'm watching the first 30 seconds, I'm like, this is just a Superman ripoff. And then the bell goes off. I was like, oh, I see what they're doing, and I've been stoked ever since. Dude, I can't think of a movie more than maybe Endgame that I could be positioned to be more disappointed in. Because right now, my hope and my excitement about this movie is kind of unrealistic. So, I don't know. But I know I'm stoked to see it. And I think you've been talking a lot about it, too.
It looks great to me. I'm in.
All right, what's next?
Patrick Conway, plot Marvel, Hellstorm sounds from similar, Supernatural.
Yeah, actually, it does sound a little bit similar with the siblings and hunting evil, some other stuff as well. I mean, look, there's still enough major differences that it doesn't sound like a replica of Supernatural by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, there are some similarities. You're absolutely right, Patrick. All right, what's next?
The McDougal Bugle. Will Emily Van Camp return for Falcon WS series?
I doubt it. I haven't heard anything. Well, look, we haven't heard any official casting announcement other than the fact of the two main leads, but I'm going to guess no. Rob, what about you?
I wouldn't see why, but you never know. With Marvel, Jarvis came back from the Agent Carter TV series. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Emily Van Camp's got a new series that she's on, some medical series, whatever. All right, what's next?
JB Bonificio, y'all's go-to love story. Mine is Eternal Sunshine. I love it.
Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge for me. What about you, Rob?
When Harry Met Sally.
Ooh, that's a good one. What about you, Ashley? You got to go to a romance movie or
Eternal
love story?
Sunshine is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I'll just say that.
All right, that one works.
And I'll think it over.
All right, what's next?
Nick Brown sends in a super chat.
Oh, thanks, Nick.
Enriqued 305, releasing Shazam between CM and A4 hurt the box office.
I disagree. I really don't see how. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't talk to a single person that went, man, I would go see Shazam, except I'm seeing Endgame in 3 weeks.
Right.
I've seen a lot of people like placing blame on that, and it's like that. I don't see how that makes sense. If anything, it was riding the popularity of the superhero genre at the moment. You had Captain Marvel making $1 billion. You had Endgame, we knew was going to be huge. It should have been able to capitalize on that. I personally don't buy into it. I don't buy into that theory. And you're not alone, man. There are a lot of people who have that theory, but I disagree with that entirely. I think it's. I don't think that had anything to do with it. Myself, personally. Rob, do you think?
Look, I found Shazam disappointing. I think the reason it didn't do better is because it didn't live up to the promise of the trailers.
Yeah, I think it did. I thought it was spectacular.
I know. A lot of people do.
All right, what's next?
Jamie Stir, 25. It's not like theaters will pull Endgame at the end of this month. It'll be making money at a good pace internationally. $2.78 billion is not impossible, folks.
I don't think anybody's saying it's impossible. I'm actually still putting money on that. It will cross 2.78.
I'm with you too. I think it's playing the long game.
But do not think for a second that it's a lock. Do not think for a second that it's a lock. And don't think that just because it's in theaters 4 weeks from now that it's still making $50 million a week. It'll be making like $4 or $5 million a week. I mean, so I believe it's going to get there. Rob thinks it's going to get there. We're just saying it's not 100% lock. That's all we're saying. So, yeah, there you go. All right, what's next?
Robert Perez, Thanos has become one of my favorite characters.
I think that's true for a lot of people. Now, we're very, what have you done for me lately? Like, whatever is shiny and new right now is our new favorite thing. And that's what we do. That's the type of humans we are. But it's a fabulous character. I didn't like the character as much in Endgame as I did in Infinity War, but that was by design. They gave him all of his stuff in Infinity War. They wanted to focus on other things in Endgame. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, he's absolutely, truly, probably the best villain Marvel's ever done. I mean, it's just fantastic. All right, what's next?
Nick Brown, I know you dislike Tony being able to make the gauntlet, but with Bruce and Rocket, I feel like it wasn't unbelievable. Rocket made planet-destroying bombs out of some batteries, so it was believable.
Now, still completely unbelievable. Look, you're talking about two people, Bruce Banner and Tony, who are real smart for their world, but a world that is millennia behind other civilizations in the galaxy. Like, we are, to some civilizations of the galaxy, we're dark ages. Like, we're basically just one step above cavemen at this point. And the whole notion that people on this world, like, again, wrap your heads around this, only a magical giant dwarf in the center of the universe using the heart of a dying star can put something together that can harness the power in the Infinity Stones. Some guy in some backworld world, Earth, give me to lunch. I can make infinity gauntlets, and I can make time machine. Can't cure cancer, but I can make a time machine. Give me 3 days to think about it. It's idiotic. But, much like there is nothing there for Spider-Man to shoot onto, the payoff is worth it. The payoff is totally worth it. To get that moment. Look, Tony also should never have been... his head should have exploded the moment he put the gauntlet on. Like, if the gauntlet goes on the Incredible Hulk, and he drops to his knees, screaming in agony, a human being puts that on, poof, there goes their heads. That's what it should have been. But the payoff of, I am Iron Man. Boom! Would I trade that other stuff? No way. Because that moment was so damn worth it, you just keep it. But I'm sorry to all the apologists out there. I'm sorry. But it is possible to love Endgame and still admit, oh yeah, it does some stupid ass stuff. It does some completely unbelievable things that do not match with the rules of their universe. It's preposterous. But if that's the price tag you got to pay to get the events and the things that we got, then I pay it because the payoff was so good. I mean, why would you not? Look, Captain America, let's say you don't know the comics, okay? Let's say for a moment you don't know the comics at all. Captain America standing there with, by the way, a bunch of strangers that he's never met, going, Avengers, assemble. That's stupid. It's a stupid, in that moment, that is a stupid battle cry. And by the way, people just 4 feet over from him going, excuse me, what? Assemble. Like dumb, but it's Captain America saying Avengers assemble, about to go into battle with Thanos, so you accept that and you buy it and you say, totally worth it. So I don't know. I've been going on a lot of that. Anyway, Rob, you got anything to add there? Because I've been going off that a punch.
Oh, I think I do, but we would need another half an hour to debate this.
Yeah, we could go. But anyway, all right. What's next?
Jason Schrum, I switched to mostly buying digital. I've heard if the site closes, you lose your collection. I use Vudu and iTunes. Should I go back to physical media?
Well, the going to physical media is just not an option for much longer. So you can just understand it's not going to be a thriving, viable option much longer. It's not like it's going anywhere tomorrow, though. The thing is, if something closes down, you lose it. Well, yeah, if you go, hey, for $7.99, sign up for Omar's great streaming movie service. Yeah. If you're on iTunes, newsflash, Apple's not going anywhere. If you use Google Play, newsflash, Google's not going anywhere. So it's really not a problem. But if you're somebody who loves physical media, somebody was asking me, Rob, should I start weaning myself off physical media? I really love physical media. I'm saying, actually, if you love physical media, now's the time for you to really be getting your physical media, because it's like 10 years from now, you're not going to be able to get everything on physical media anymore. Now's the time to actually maybe double down on it and get even more, because you're not always going to have the option. What advice would you give?
Well, I tend to agree, and also get a player that you can stash away.
Yeah, make sure you have a player.
A rainy day. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I've been a physical media collector for 39 years now. Eesh. And I am sad to see it go, but that's the future, man. That's just the future.
All right, what's next?
I have a little DVD thing that just plugs right in with a USB into my computer. It's great. It's just
nice.
Sleek and light. You guys should all get those. Robert Perez, we who are about to die, salute you.
Classic line said in a bunch of gladiatory things, but particularly in Gladiator and other things. It's just such a grr line. We who are about to die, salute you.
And in the Marvel Comics series, Strike Force Morituri.
Is that this line was there?
Morituri would say that, yeah.
All right, listen, guys, we're just about out of time here for the rest of the show, but some people have sent in some rather large super chats, so I want to make sure that they get their questions answered right now before we end, so we're just going to skip ahead. But everybody else who doesn't get their questions answered, don't worry. A companion video is coming later today. Keep your eyes open for that. Okay, so what is our next super chat there?
Let's go to Mighty Tank 1. Hey guys, first super chat. It looks like Netflix will have to say goodbye to Friends and The Office as well. Once the NBC Universal service launches, Disney isn't the only competitor they have to worry about.
No, and we were talking, and by the way, that's really generous super chat, Mighty Tank. Thank you so much for supporting the channel that way. No, we've been talking about that for a while now, Rob. I mean, but again, see, this is what full marks to Netflix. They could have just rode on their laurels. They could have just enjoyed their success. But instead, it was years ago that they saw the changing climate coming. And they started investing heavily in original programming because they knew a day was coming when everybody else would get on that bandwagon and start pulling their content. But you raise a really good, interesting point there, Mighty Tank, about the fact that we're talking about how Netflix needs to worry about Universal doing their own thing. I mean, Disney is going to be competing against this thing. They're going to have some of the best, most viewed library material in the world over there. Now, the one cool thing for Disney is that people don't have to choose between subscribing to NBC Universal service or Disney's, because NBC Universal service is going to be free. So that is good news for NBC Universal. That's good news for consumers, but it's also good news for Disney Plus, because in that sense, it's not a competitor to them. There's no reason people can't pay $7 a month for Disney because they don't have to pay anything. For Netflix, it is bad news because Netflix is losing their most viewed content. So I don't know, when we're looking at this in this kind of three-way, which is about to come a 25-way battle, but right now we're kind of seeing it in terms of a three-way battle. Who do you think has more to worry about when it comes to Universal launching their thing, Netflix or Disney Plus?
I think, I think Netflix.
Yeah.
And you know what else? Remember, Netflix paid to $100 million for the rights to show Friends for the year of 2019.
Yes, they did.
I don't think that Comcast or NBC Universal, if somebody wants to pay them another $100 million for 2020 or 2021, that they'd be on. Yeah, I think they might take Netflix's cash. They might.
They won't, because they're going all in on their streaming service. They need to have that.
I know, but if
there.
it's non-exclusive.
Well, yeah, but if it's not exclusive, then Netflix isn't going to pay $100 million for non-exclusive. They're only going to pay that money if Netflix, because the only place you can come and see it.
Well, they might pay $50. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But
it'll be interesting to see, but I think they're just pulling it all back. They've already kind of announced they're going to be doing. They actually said at an event the other day that those shows are coming home. Is kind of the way they put it. So it's going to be interesting to see. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Again, to everybody who had outstanding Super Chat questions rating, do not worry. We are going to do another companion video later today, answering all those questions you sent in. So keep your eyes open for that. They are coming. I want to thank, of course, the people who are sitting here with me. First of all, the one and the only, the great Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me at BurnettRM on Twitter, or find me at RM Burnett on Instagram, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, or its companion website, theburnettwork.net.
And, of course, we're also joined by the wonderful Ashley Whalen. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my Instagram at Ashley Whalen, 2 Y's in Ashley, or Twitter at AshAttack1. And everyone have a good week.
And you guys, of course, can follow me on social media simply at John Campea. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.